Number the Stars, pages 54 through 60. The train ride north along the Danish coast was very beautiful. Again and again they could see the sea from the windows. Amory had made this trip often to visit her grandparents when they were alive, and later, after they were gone, to see the cheerful, sun-tanned, unmarried uncle whom she loved. But the trip was new to Ellen, who sat with her face pressed to the window watching the lovely homes along the seaside, the small farms and villages. "Look!" Amory exclaimed, and pointed to the opposite side. "It's Klampenborg, and the deer park! Oh, I wish we could stop there just for a little while." Mama shook her head. "Not today," she said. The train did stop at the small Klampenborg station, but none of the few passengers got off. "Have you ever been there, Ellen?" Mama asked. But Ellen said no. "Well, someday you will go. Someday you will walk through the park and you will see hundreds of deer, tame and free." Kirsty wiggled her knees and peered through the window. "I don't see any deer," she complained. "They are there, I'm sure," Mama told her. "They're hiding in the trees." The train started again. The door at the end of their car opened and two German soldiers appeared. Amory tensed. Not here on the train, too. They were everywhere. Together the soldiers strolled through the car, glancing at passengers, stopping here and there to ask a question. One of them had something stuck in his teeth. He probed at it with his tongue and distorted his own face. Amory watched with a kind of frightened fascination as the pair approached. One of the soldiers looked down with a bored expression on his face. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Gililegi," Mama replied calmly. "My brother lives there. We are going to visit him." The soldier turned away and Amory relaxed. Then without warning, he turned back. "Are you visiting your brother for the New Year?" he asked suddenly. Mama stared at him with a puzzled look. "New Year?" she asked. "It's only October." "And guess what?" Kirsty exclaimed suddenly in a loud voice, looking at the soldier. Amory's heart sank, and she looked at her mother. Mama's eyes were frightened. "Shh, Kirsty," Mama said. "Don't chatter so." But Kirsty paid no attention to Mama, as usual. She looked cheerfully at the soldier, and Amory knew what she was about to say. This is our friend Ellen, and it's her New Year. But she didn't. Instead, Kirsty pointed at her feet. "I'm going to visit my Uncle Henrik," she chirped, "and I'm wearing my brand new shiny black shoes." The soldier chuckled and moved on. Amory gazed through the window again. The trees, the Baltic Sea, and the cloudy October sky passed in a blur as they continued north along the coast. "Smell the air," Mama said as they stepped off the train and made their way to the narrow street. "Isn't it lovely and fresh?" "It always brings back memories for me." The air was breezy and cool, and carried the sharp, not unpleasant smell of salt and fish. High against the pale clouds, seagulls soared and cried out as if they were mourning. Mama looked at her watch. "I wonder if Henrik will be back yet. But it doesn't matter, the house is always unlocked. Come on, girls, we'll walk. It isn't far. Just a little under 2 miles. And it's a nice day. We'll take the path through the woods instead of the road. It's a little longer, but it's so pretty." "Didn't you love the castle when we went through Helsingborg, Ellen?" Kirsty asked. She had been talking about the Kronborg castle ever since they had seen it, sprawling, massive, and ancient beside the sea from the train. "I wish we could have stopped to visit the castle. Kings live there, and queens." Emery sighed in exasperation with her little sister. "They do not," she said. "They did in the old days, but there aren't any kings there now. Denmark only has one king, anyway, and he lives in Copenhagen." But Kirsty had pranced away, skipping along the sidewalk. "Kings and queens," she sang happily. "Kings and queens." Mama shrugged and smiled. "Let her dream, Anne-Marie. I did the same when I was her age." She turned, leading the way along a tiny, twisting street, heading towards the outskirts of the village. "Things have hardly changed here since I was a girl," she said. "My Aunt Jet lived there, in that house," she pointed, "and she's been dead for years, but the house is the same. She always had wonderful flowers in her garden." She peered over the low stone wall and looked at the few flowering bushes as they passed the house. Maybe they still do, but it's the wrong time of year. There are just those few chrysanthemums left. And see over there, she pointed again. My best friend, her name was Helena, lived in that house. Sometimes I used to spend the night with her, but more often she came to my house on weekends. It was more fun to be in the country. My brother Henrik always teased us, though, she continued with a chuckle. He told us ghost stories and scared us half to death. The sidewalk ended and Mama turned onto a dirt path bordered by trees. When I walked each morning into town for school, she said, my dog followed me this far. At the end of the path, he turned and went back home. I guess he was a country dog and didn't like town. And do you know what? She went on, smiling. I named him Drofast, faithful. And it was just the right name for him, because what a faithful dog he was. Every afternoon he was always right here, waiting for me to return. He knew the right time somehow. Sometimes, as I come around this bend, even today, feels as if I might come upon Drofast, waiting still, with his tail wagging. But the path was empty today. No people, no faithful dogs. Mama shifted the bag she was carrying from one hand to the other, and they walked on through the woods until the path opened to a meadow dotted with cows. Here, the path skirted the edge of the field along a fence, and beyond it, they could see the gray sea, ruffled by wind. The breeze moved the high grass. At the end of the pasture, they entered the woods again, and Anne-Marie knew they would soon be there. Uncle Henrik's house was in a clearing beyond the woods. Do you mind if I run ahead? She asked suddenly. I want to be the first to see the house. Go on, Mama told her. Run ahead and tell the house we've come home. Then she put her arm around Ellen's shoulders and added, say that we've brought a friend.